بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. So we like to schedule this time or set aside this time before the Jummah khutbah for any questions that anyone might have. And if none of you have a question, there was a question that I had received that I would like to address. So if anyone has any questions, the floor is open and you're more than welcome to ask. Right, no problem. So the question I received was about eating the meat here in the United States. And some brothers said that, I have children who they differ with me and they disagree with me on whether we can eat here. There's always a discussion, especially between the Indo-Pak community and the Arabs, where the Indo-Pak community, you find them a little bit more stringent, where they say that we eat labiha only. And then you have other brothers and other sisters who say, no, it's okay if you go ahead and eat McDonald's or you eat at these other places. And one of the reasons I wanted to address this question is not so much that why is it that we attack one another when it comes to this. I think very fundamentally it's important to understand the fiqhi ruling behind it first. So the difference of opinion, it basically boils down to the difference in the madhab that the person follows. And the difference in the madhab, you have two groups of scholars. One group of scholars says that for the slaughter to be sound, for the meat to be consumable, there are three conditions that need to be fulfilled. What are those three conditions? That the one who is slaughtering, he be Muslim. That the blood is taken from the carotid, from the veins, here. This is the second one. It doesn't necessarily have to be like this, right? Because camels, what happens is that their bones structure is different, right? The bones run up and down. Versus other animals like goats, lamb, sheep. They're much smaller animals, so cutting and slaughtering like this is very common. But if anybody's ever slaughtered a camel, the way the camel is slaughtered is differently because the bones are running up and down, so they actually stab it, and then the blood spills out. So the first condition we said that the person has to be Muslim. The second condition we said is that the blood has to spill from the main artery. And the third condition is the tasmiyah, saying Allah's name at the time of slaughter. Right, so these are the three conditions, and this is the scholars or the madhab that is a heavy proponent of this is the Hanafi madhab. So the Hanafi madhab says that these are the three conditions for slaughter. The Shafi'is, they say that there are only two conditions for slaughter. What are those two conditions? That the person be Muslim and that the blood spill from the main veins. Meaning the third condition of tasmiyah is not there. They say it is mustahab. It is recommended that the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be taken at the time of slaughter. This is the entire basis of the khilaf. This is the entire basis of the difference of opinion regarding this issue. Now, by extension, how do we deal with this living in the United States or living in outside countries? They say if we take these, whether we're on the three condition madhab or we're on the two condition madhab, this would extend also to Ahl Kitab. This ruling would extend to Ahl Kitab. Meaning that if I was Hanafi, that the person would have to be either a Christian or a Jew. The slaughter would have to be from the main artery. And the name of Allah would have to be taken at the time of slaughter. So here in the United States, out of the Christians and the Jews, who is the one that takes Allah's name at the time of slaughter? Ritually. You guys know? The Jews, right? Jews, ritually, they take Allah's name at the time of slaughter, and this is why you will find that the people who are on this madhab, they will also extend the ruling to the Jews, and they have no problem eating kosher meat. The second opinion, like we said, which is the main opinion of the Shafi'is, is that the person be Muslim, and it has to be done from the artery, from the main artery. This is the slaughter and how it's done. So what they say is that as long as the person is a Jew or a Christian, and the slaughter is done by the main artery and the blood is spilt, then this is enough for that meat to be halal, whether Allah's name is taken at the time of slaughter or not. This is the entire basis of the khilaf. This is the entire basis of the rulings and how it is. What's the other factors that I think are important to keep in mind here are the type of people that were dealt with historically. So in the Indo-Pak continent, or the subcontinent, you will find a majority of the people there, they're of what madhab? They're Hanafi, right? Historically, they have been Hanafi. And in the Arab community, predominantly Shafi'i, right? And this is just historically how it's always been. In the Arab community, you have a very large population of Arab Christians and Arab Jews. Not uncommon. But in the subcontinent, who is the other large group of people? Huh? Hindus. If you look at the history of how and who these individuals interact with, for the Arabs who are Shafi'i, it is not strange for them to interact with Arabs and Jews. Eating their meat was not a big deal for them because historically they always had an interaction and relationship with them. Did the people in the Indo-Pak community have the same relationship with Jews and Christians? Absolutely not. And by ittifaq, by agreement, regardless of the madhab that you follow, are we allowed to eat the slaughter of pagans? No, we're not. It doesn't matter what madhab you follow, we are not allowed to eat the slaughter of pagans, whether they be Hindu, whether they be Buddhist, whether they be whatever, pagan or mushrik religion that is of the case. So even we have to understand, not only is there a fiqhi basis for the attitude behind the slaughter, there's also a cultural one of the basis and how we've reached where we are today and how we deal with this issue. So because of this fundamental difference and this fundamental understanding, this is why we have such a big difference within the community on how to deal with the meat. I think it's more important for us to understand how to deal with each other, not to deal with the issue. How we deal with each other fundamentally, this is where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is testing me. What I bring to my house is my business. Whatever meat I eat is my business. And both of these opinions are Islamically sound. Both of these opinions are Islamically sound, regardless of the one that you follow. And because they're both Islamically sound, we have to make sure that we respect one another when we deal with those issues. How does that manifest itself? When I go to a restaurant that is publicly serving people, I have every single right to what? To ask, where did this meat come from? How did you slaughter this meat? Where did you bring it from? Do I have this same right when I go to somebody's house? Absolutely not. This is poor manner, this is poor etiquette, this is not how the Muslims should deal with one another. When someone is inviting me to his home, if he is eating the meat, then what does that mean? It is halal. And it is not upon me to question. Because when I question and when I ask, what am I doing? Am I building a good relationship with this person? Absolutely not. And if he is eating something that he sees to be halal, then it is upon me to trust my Muslim brother and to trust my Muslim sister and whatever it is that they're feeding me, unless something is blatantly clear, right? If they bring out a Big Mac that's wrapped in a wrapper, at that point I have the right to ask. But if they're bringing me out a meal and they're serving me, I don't need to ask. This is not from the manners of the Muslim. Even when the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was with Aisha, they went to a village that had just come to Islam. They had just converted. And they brought out some meat. And Aisha radiallahu anha, she turned to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and she said, can we eat this? And he sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what did he say to her? He said, Sammi Allah wa kul. He said, take Allah's name and eat it. Don't ask too many questions. These people are Muslim. We have to trust their Islam. And if we trust their Islam, then we trust the food that they bring us. And like I said, unless there is something that is very clear, becomes clear to us, or something that is apparent to us. But in normal circumstances, this is how we build community, this is how we build love, this is how we build tolerance. Whatever an individual does in his or her home, that is their business. It is not upon us to go and probe and to do. I am allowed to do all of those things in my home. I have every right to do that because it's my home. Even with halal things. And if I don't like tomatoes, what can I do? I don't buy tomatoes. If I don't like eggplant, if I don't like chicken, if I don't like any of these things, I have every right to say that these things cannot come into my house, even though those things are halal. So what about the one who invites someone to his house, or invites us to her house? Wallahi, we have to learn how to tolerate these differences. We have to learn how to deal with one another, and we have to understand that alladhi adinullah bi, the way that I get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is my way. I cannot enforce my way on others. I cannot, oppress others and hurt others because I feel something is right. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us tawfiq. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless us and give us patience. I mean, tafadhal.
Another question, it's not connected to this. Part of my friend asking me that in Ramadan, at the last end of the time, after that, he was very sick. he has headache and
Yeah.
I have to pay the fast. But he didn't break the fast.
Okay.
So he asked me, am I to pay it another day and how many days? He deliberately totally took about 2 months.
Yeah.
But he was asking me such question.
طيب, so this is something inshallah we can definitely talk about, but very quickly, now he has to make up the fasts. He has to make up the fast. Because he ingested knowingly, he has to make up the fast.
He said for the sake of anti-pain.
No, I understand. So depending on his medical situation, he might either be excused and he pays a kafara for every day.
Pays 1 day?
Yeah, he pays for 1 day, or he has to make up the fast. It depends on the medical condition. Because I don't know, I can't say. Wallahu a'lam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.